Hey there, everyone. Nick Caston here from Arizona Hot Tub, and from us to you, thank you so much for your purchase of your brand new Caldera or Hot Spring spa. So today we're going to actually talk about how to start up and fill your Limelight Hot Spring or Paradise Collection Caldera spa. So we're going to use a Limelight Prism here as an example, and we're going to just jump right into it. So first things first, you want to make sure that you have your drain cap on tight. Now, for both of these types of spas, there's generally only one drain cap. It's located always at the very bottom of the side where the control panel is. So on this particular one, it's kind of next to where we have the wiring and the hookup. You can actually see it sticking out here. You just want to make sure that that is hand tight. There's actually a little screw, or this 3/4 inch cap with an O-ring on the inside here. Now your spa comes with this equipped inside the owner's manual area, so if you really wanted to, you could go ahead and replace this drain cap with this one. All that allows you to do is attach a hose to it when you decide to drain it much later, assuming that you have a salt system. So you want to make sure those are on nice and tight, because nothing is worse than filling up your spa and then realizing that your water is going all over the place. So that's number one. The second thing you want to do is you want to start filling it. When you fill it, if it's a Limelight spa, there's going to be two filters. One filter is more important than the other, and you can always tell. So here we have a Prism. We have two filters here. One has a gray cap, the other one has a white. So if I unscrew this gray cap, you'll notice it's got a gray standpipe and it's hollow. The other one has got a white standpipe and it's not hollow. Therefore, you can't shove a hose down it. You want to shove the hose right down the center of this thing and fill it through the center of this filter. Now, if it's a Caldera spa, we're going to just take the filter out, and I'm going to show you how to do that next. All right, so now we're looking at a Caldera Reunion. Again, this is the same for all Caldera Paradise Collection spas. So underneath the filter lid, you have their telescoping skimmer like this. And the way you remove this skimmer is you're going to actually kind of grab these little pieces here and kind of push on them counterclockwise. It's only going to turn a quarter turn and the whole thing will lift straight on out. And you can actually see how it's done. There's just these little tabs that kind of hold it in place right here. So that's how, same way you're going to put it back in. The filter here does not screw in like the Hot Spring does. Instead, it just kind of wiggles out. It's pretty tight, so you got to kind of jiggle it to get it out, and it just slides over this base down here. So what you're going to do with this filter as you start filling the spa is we're going to just throw this filter in the main part of the spa. The reason for that is we want it to take on water so it doesn't create an airlock. And again, we're going to put the hose, obviously there's nothing tight to fit in here, but we're going to put it inside this filter area and fill it through here. The reason why you always want to fill through the filter area is to make sure that you don't have airlocks or anything like that to prevent the spa from actually heating up and using the pumps when you first turn it on. So now we're going to get a hose in these spas, we're going to start filling it up, and we're going to show you what to do next. All right, so now that we have this thing filled up all the way, again, we go like right underneath the pillows, at least an inch above the jets. We're gonna go ahead and turn this thing on. Now your spa is either wired 110 volt or it's wired 220. If it's wired 220, you're gonna have a 20 and a 30 amp breaker in a sub panel. So that is called a GFCI disconnect. You're gonna go find that, turn both of those breakers on at the same time. If it's 110, all you gotta do is plug it in. So let's go ahead and turn this thing on and we'll go from there. All right, so now we got this thing turned on, and we're just going to go over a quickly why your logo light might be freaking out a little bit. So first of all, this blue light down here indicates that there's actually power to the unit. So that's good, we got power to the unit. The green part of this light is your ready light. So if that light is not on, it's very possible that it's not to temperature. It's only going to click on once it's to temperature. So that green light will go solid once we get up to the desired temperature, which on this spa we have it set at 104. And then this yellow light is blinking because our salt system's not operational, which is normal because we haven't done anything to it yet. So we'll get this all taken care of here shortly, and and we'll go from there. All right, so first things first, when we first put power to the spa, you may have to turn on your jets to get everything moving, all the water moving. You'll also see we do not have an ozone machine installed on this. If you did, you would actually see bubbles coming up because these spas are equipped with circulation pumps. This one does not have an ozone on it, but we can still, if you look closely, you can see the ripples on top of the water. In fact, we'll go ahead and turn on the light so it's a little easier to see. It might take 5 to 10 minutes to actually get that circ pump to actually turn over the very first time you do this. That's why it's so important that you put your hose down in the filter in order to make sure you flood that first. Otherwise, it could take a lot longer, or we'll have to troubleshoot in the equipment compartment. So we don't have to do that. Luckily, it turned on right away, so we're good to go. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make sure that we turn on all the jets to get all the water stirred up, make sure everything is working, which it looks like this one has 3 jet pumps, so everything's working fine. So that's good. We actually purged this before, so we're good to go there. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to treat this thing chemically. So we want to make sure the pH is balanced, and we want to shock it with just a little bit of chlorine just to establish that sanitizer level. So your spas are all equipped with a clean cycle. So we go to the main screen on this. All these screens they operate exactly the same. They might look different, have a different bezel, but they all look the same in terms of this. These are soft buttons. These are hard buttons on the outside here. So these hard buttons on the outside do not change, whereas the soft buttons change based on what's on the screen. The clean cycle is just simply a 10-minute jet cycle, perfect for doing water chemistry. So we're going to go ahead and hit that button. You'll actually see that this little, what it looks like a jet, I guess, is going to blink at you. If the clean cycle is enabled, that's going to blink. If it's just jets, it's going to stay solid. So we have the clean cycle enabled. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take test strips, and we're going to make sure we know what the pH is. So the pH is probably the most important thing. We want to make sure we adjust that first before we do anything else. So the pH definitely looks a little high. We're going to bring that back down. This spa is about 525 gallons. So we're going to do that. You'll also notice on my test strip there's a little chlorine. We cheated a little bit. This is day 2. So we're going to go ahead and adjust that pH down. So at 525 gallons on our pH decrease bottle, there's actually a little scale on the back here. It goes 200, 400, then 1,000, which isn't super helpful, but it looks like it's between 8 and 8.4. So you can see on 400 gallons, we need 3 teaspoons. That's a guesstimate. Because this is about 550, 525, somewhere in that range, we're going to go a little bit more than that. We're going to actually go probably 3.5 teaspoons and see where that's at. So again, you're going to find your equipment compartment, and we're just going to sprinkle it right over the filters to get that introduced to the water as quickly as possible. So again, I'm kind of guesstimating here on what we need to do in terms of size. From here, we're going to wait about 1 minute or so, and then we're going to take another retest, or we're going to test it again. And again, that's all you should have to wait. It's about 1 minute, retest it, and we'll see you about 60 seconds from now. All right, so it's been about a minute. So we're going to retest it, see what the pH is at again. And if the pH is good, then we're going to move on to step 2, which is just adding a small amount of chlorine, again, to establish a sanitizer to start off with. If the pH is not good, we're going to keep going. And you want to adjust, and you need to use as much as you can to get it in that good range. Now, in a salt system, the pH always tends to go high. So you want to kind of get it on the low side of the good range, which is going to be 7.2. So that light peach color if you're using a freshwater brand test strip. So these are instant reads. So we dip it, we read it immediately. So we're going to dip it in here. And you can kind of see how much that pH came down. It looks perfect to me. Now, we've already established a little bit of chlorine in here because, again, we did that off camera. But I'm going to show you how much chlorine you actually need. So here is your chlorine. Again, this is a really big spa. So this is 525 gallons. You really don't need that much in order for it to do what it needs to do. So we're going to go ahead and add, typically, it's about 1 teaspoon per 250 gallons. It's not that much. So I'm actually going to add a little over 1 teaspoon because we already have some chlorine. I'm talking about this much for most hot tubs. This is a very small bottle. Again, we're going to sprinkle it in exactly the same way, and we're done with the water treatment generally for the week. So the clean cycle is going to stop after about 10 minutes, and then we'll go ahead and install the silver ion as well, get the salt up to snuff, and we should hopefully get this logo light to stop blinking at us. All right, so the clean cycle just finished up. Now we're going to go ahead and install the silver ion. So this, you got a box like this. Sometimes we install this before we ever leave, but if you're draining and refilling, you want to replace this silver ion cartridge or freshwater mineral spa sanitizer, whatever they call it nowadays. Some spas don't need the full stand. So if you have a Caldera for a spa, for example, this goes right down in the middle of the filter, but we actually place it upside down. Whereas in a hot spring spa, you're going to need this little doohickey. So this actually slides over it like this, and it goes right down in the filter. So we're going to go ahead and unscrew this. So again, we're going to unscrew the gray filter. This goes right down the center of the gray filter, just like that, and it slides in all the way like that. Make sure that stand is on there. Do not unscrew the stand or anything like that. You just want to put it in gently like that. Now we need to put our salt in. So on this particular hot tub, this there's actually on the back of your cheat sheet here, as well, right here, as well as the back of the salt bag. There is a scale for how much salt to put in. Now, it's super important that you don't put in more salt than what they say. You can always add more salt if you don't put enough in. It's really hard to take salt out of the water once you put it in. So you always want to err on the side of being too low rather than too high. Now, the thing I like to do is I like to actually just turn on all the jet pumps. Now, this one has 3 jet pumps. Most will have 1 or 2. So I don't use the clean cycle because this one is bigger. The clean cycle only has 1 jet pump going. I'm going to turn on all the jets. So I got everything going. I'm going to go again over to the filter compartment and start putting it in. Now, do not lose count. It's a very, very bad thing to do. So you want to make sure that you keep count up here so you don't put too much in. This one, we're going to take about 11.5 cups. I'm going to go a little bit less than that because that's what it says here. So I always want to be on the low side instead of the high side. So it's going to be really boring. I'm sure we're going to fast forward through this part, but I'm going to put about 11.5 cups-ish in. And we'll see you on the next transition. Okay, so I went ahead and put about 11 cups of salt in. Now we're going to go ahead and get our salt system actually up and running. The jets have been running. I think all the jet pumps have been running for about 10 minutes now, so we should have pretty good saturation of salt in there. We can always verify that with a salt test strip, but normally if you follow the instructions, you don't even have to do that. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to see if we can get this light to stop flashing at us. So we're going to go into the control panel and make sure we let it know that we're replacing the salt cartridge, because again, we haven't installed this thing yet. Now, sometimes we'll go ahead and install this, but you got to look at the salt menu to get this all up and running. So what I'm going to do now, if you want to look at the control panel here, is we're going to hit all off, just turn everything off. We're going to turn off the jet pumps and all that stuff. Turn the lights back on, why not? So, and then we're going to go into the options menu. So we're going to hit options, and you'll see it says salt system. And now it says service required, contact dealer Air 5, and that's because we don't actually have a salt cartridge in there. Right now we just have the standard plug that comes from the factory. So we're going to make sure we want to turn the system off. And what's interesting about this, if I turn the system off, now that the system's off, if you look over here, my logo light on the sidebar, now these are only on Hot Spring Limelight spas at the moment, but this turned green. It says everything is working. That's because I actually have the system off. If I have the system off, it's going to freak out again, and that's because I don't have this installed. So this is your salt cartridge, and so this thing should last anywhere from 4 to 6 months, depending on how you're using your hot tub, at least here at Arizona Hot Tub, how we use it. It's a titanium cell with a ruthenium oxide coating, so as that coating starts to fall off, the cell is going to get weaker and it's going to need to be replaced. So you actually see here on this control panel, we just timed out. So again, we go options, salt system. I have the salt system off, but it says replace cartridge. Now it's really important you do that because there's a bleed line on these cartridge, where the cartridge goes. So if you don't actually tell the spa you're replacing the cartridge, you're going to get water all over the place. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit that. So it says press and hold to replace cartridge. So we're going to press and hold. And now it says turning off pumps. Now it's going to be turning off that circulation pump. So again, if you have an ozone system on here, you're actually going to see the bubbles completely stop. We should see the ripples on this water completely stop. So we want to wait for the prompts on the screen. So it says remove cartridge now. So it actually went straight to insert new cartridge, because the cartridge that's in it is just a plug, which is this thing. So you're looking for this little cap thing here. And we're going to take the new cartridge, and it only goes one way. You can actually see there's metal contactors here, and you can line it up. So this is going to go in just like this, and we're going to push down, make sure it's locked in there. And now on the control panel, it says press system restart. So we're going to hit system restart, and now the spa should start working again. We can actually go ahead and put this cap back on. And you can actually see a little bit of movement over here. Now this plug right here is completely useless at this point. You can keep it for if you want to go heirloom or whatever, but this is just in the event that you choose not to go salt. Otherwise you'll be replacing that salt cartridge over and over and over. So here, we're just going to put this to the side. You'll notice my salt system is still off. Here, so we're going to change the output level. Now this level is a scale of 0 to 10. Oops, let me just go back to that screen. 0 to 10, 10 being I'm using it all the time. The salt system is going to be on all the time, and 0 being completely off, 1 being ultra low use. So if I change this to 1, we can go ahead and do it. You can see now it's doing its status test. So my light on the outside is blinking yellow because it's not operational yet. And on the status, you can actually see this little blue line actually just moved. It just finished the status test. So now it was in the red, now it's in the green, just barely, and that's because the spa is heating up at this point. So now, if you look at the logo light, it's green. My salt system is operational. Now, what we normally suggest is using an output level to start with between 2 and 4. I'm going to set this to 2. It's a big spa, but it's in the middle of our showroom. I can't imagine a whole lot of people, other than dipping their hands in it, are not going to be using this one. So we're going to set it to 2 to start off with, and you can consult with your representative to see what would be best for you. So now our salt system is up and running. There's actually only one more thing we need to do for the salt system at this point, and that is to install the Vanishing Act. Now, my calcium is a little high on this. It was about 110 parts per million, so we can go ahead and take another test strip just to double check. We're in city water. On a salt system, you generally want to lower that calcium hardness. And yeah, you can actually see it's not that bad. It's a little above 75, maybe between 75 and 150. On a salt system, we want it closer to that 25 parts per million. And the way that we're going to do that is we're going to get this Vanishing Act calcium remover. Now, on a Limelight spa, as well as a Caldera Paradise spa, they have these things called suction fittings that are going to be on the side of the spa. And you can actually see them very plainly in the inside. On this particular spa, it looks like we have 5. So you can see one right at the base of this lounge, right next to this big old jet here. There's 2 more right here, and 1 in the corner over here. Now, one of those jets or one of those suction fittings are going to be more important than the others, and that's going to take place with the Vanishing Act. So the best thing to do here is to double check which one it is. I don't even know which one it is. I'm going to look at the owner's manual. So inside of your owner's manual, there's a diagram which tells you which one you want to follow. So we're going to find that here. Oh, I just opened up to the page. How lucky is that? So if you look here, it actually tells me Vanishing Act instructions. This is the bypass fitting I want to be on. So it's the one at the base of the lounge, right next to that big jet. So every spa is a little different. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the Vanishing Act out, and then we're going to turn on the Vanishing Act cycle once I put the Vanishing Act where it needs to go. So here, this to the side. Here's my Vanishing Act. It looks like a gigantic marshmallow. This is a one-time use type thing. So we're going to actually put this thing in here. It is always a little wet in the Vanishing Act, because something they do at the factory. I don't understand it. But we're going to go ahead and place it where it said. So again, it's going to go right over here next to this lounger. Luckily, I'm tall and we don't have a cover lifter on here, so it's easy for me to get to. Well, easy-ish. And you're actually going to place it right next to it, just like that. It has to be touching it. It's going to be right next to it because water's going to be drawn through it. So now we have to enable the Vanishing Act cycle. This is a 6-hour cycle. So what we're going to do is we're going to go again back to the options menu, options, setup, and then we're going to go to more. And you'll actually see it says Vanishing Act right here. So we're going to go ahead and turn that on. And what that does is, with the exception of a handful of spas, it's going to turn on a low-speed pump, and it's going to draw water through the Vanishing Act for the next 6 hours. So sometimes it's a high-speed pump. It depends on what kind of spa it is. But for the next 6 hours, that Vanishing Act is going to be drawing in water, trapping calcium. After that 6 hours, we're going to be able to pull that Vanishing Act out and throw it away. We should be good to go, and I should be up to temperature. All right, so you'll see that our control or our logo light here, again, this is only for Hot Spring Limelights right now, but my light bar on the side is green. It means our salt system is up and running. My top part of the light is also on, and it's on solid, which means it's within 2 degrees of my set temperature. It currently reads at 100 degrees here on that, so my set temperature I have now at 102. That's why I turned on. So everything should be going. We're still in the middle of the Vanishing Act cycle, so when we retest this, the hope is that our Vanishing Act is going to be our calcium hardness is going to be between 25 and 75 parts per million. Now, the reason for that, your salt system can work in a high calcium environment. The only issue is it will actually coat this saltwater cartridge here. So if we have it too high, what ends up happening is we just don't get as much life out of these saltwater cartridges, and that is the main reason why we want to lower that calcium hardness. Now, there are 2 different types of Vanishing Acts. There is the standard size, which we have here, which is great for spas that are around 150 calcium hardness out of the tap. But if you're in an area where it's a little higher than that, say around 300, like Sedona, Verde Valley, especially on well water, you're going to want the Vanishing Act XL. Or if you just fill it with a water softener, you won't have any issues, and you don't have to use the Vanishing Act at all. You can go ahead and avoid this whole process. So anyway.